From LALATE News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is the Midday Report on LALATE.
It's a big midday in Los Angeles, direct from Santa Monica with your fourth stimulus check update of 2021, and a recording I don't think I have ever made before like this. Minutes ago, a major series of meetings happened on Capitol Hill on a Tuesday midday that followed the late meetings last night. And boy, when we talk about your fourth stimulus check update of 2021, it's all great news because Democratic progressives really got furious about the situation. They literally went to the mat saying, you are not going to play games with us. We got 60 people ready to implode everything you're trying to do with us, and we will block you like you've been blocked like linebackers in the NFL. In this recording, I'll go over all the incredible details. I never seen legislators so angry in my life. It's all great news for you because on Saturday, the $3.5 trillion reconciliation budget bill draft passed a House subcommittee. Great news. That going into today, AOC Omar, Pelosi's office, and Jalopal all saying they're inserting a monthly stimulus check provision in there as well. Great news. But then came the big surprise of a big meeting last night, Saturday night. I explained that meeting on air at Mornings LA, but guess what? Minutes ago, another meeting on a Tuesday, just minutes ago. And you would have thought the last night show, the last night meeting was like a food fight. The 1 minute ago was just like a tsunami of sushi. I have never seen such incredible anger among legislators. Why is it great news? Because they're all protecting your recon like it's Fort Knox. I've never seen it ever like this. It's all incredible, great news. It's starting right now. It's a breaking, developing detail, and it's happening right now at noontime. Hey, good noontime, everybody. I hope you have a beautiful day and I hope the weather is good where you are. I'm live with you from Santa Monica, California. In your fourth stimulus check update of 2021, so much happening. In this recording, I may go off script because I may go off of the normal structure of the show because there is so much breaking news minutes ago. It's very fascinating. It's all great news for you because I've never seen legislators get so fuming angry about protecting your recon until just minutes ago. They are. And I told you it's a very fluid situation. This is a totally different show than even the morning show that was just, 2 hours ago? This is a totally different show. I'll be going over the $3.5 trillion reconciliation budget bill that passed the subcommittee of the House on Saturday. I'll be going over the meeting last night on Capitol Hill that I described as a food fight on Mornings LA. I'll go over the meeting that happened minutes ago with the president and those two Democrats from the Senate. I'll go over the meeting that happened with the House Democrats minutes ago at midday on a Tuesday. I'll be going over what is happening with Thursday, what's happening with Wednesday. It's just insane. We'll be going over the fourth stimulus and the inclusion of that monthly stimulus check that the Democrats, AOC and Omar and Pelosi's office still say they're inserting in there, and Bernie's office saying that as well. It's great. I've never seen people really watching your back. And then even Ron Wyden wants to insert in unemployment benefits extension in there. Oh, boy. We'll be kind of fifth stimulus, the debt ceiling limit, more. It's a big noontime. Let's get to the details starting right now. First, let me explain to you how we got to where we are if you've missed any of the recordings in the last 2 days. On Saturday, the House Budget Subcommittee passed a $3.5 trillion reconciliation budget bill draft. This is the one that's been detailed on this channel over the last 3 months. They passed cluster number 1, cluster number 2, cluster number 3. While I say it as a draft of a bill, it is literally a draft of a bill because even that Saturday night, Nancy Pelosi said, you know what? It's not the full bill because you say the word bill, we can still insert things in there. And that's what the president said as well. Last week, Chuck Schumer said the Democratic framework of the bill had been reached, and the president walked back and said, I don't want to say that word because we can still modify stuff. This is great news for you because guess what? Since even Friday all the way up today, AOC, Omar, Pelosi, and Jalopal, all progressive, all House Democrats, had said they're inserting a monthly stimulus check provision in there on top of that. Bernie Sanders' office confirming that as well in the last 48 hours as well. That was Saturday. Then, last night, Monday night, I told you, and I detailed this early on Mornings LA, that Monday night there was a meeting. And Monday night there was a meeting to go over voting on the infrastructure, the recon, and the debt ceiling limit. And I told you on Mornings LA that meeting was literally a food fight. It was like a cafeteria high school food fight. All good for you. Why? Because it doesn't make a difference to us if the recon is voted second or first. But the great news was that the progressives were really saying, listen, you know what? We had a deal, and you need to hold the deal up. And the progressives, Omar, AOC, and Jalopal saying, you know what? The agreement was that the bipartisan and the recon were linked and that they would be voted at the same time. The agreement was that the president would not sign one at a time. They would have to sign both. The agreement was that we're not going to do the recon. We're not going to do the recon, years later. We're going to do it at the same time. And last night, Pelosi reverted, surprised a lot of people when she said, you know what? We need to call the vote on the bipartisan by Thursday because we have this thing called the Surface Transportation Agreement, and everyone said that's not really a deadline. That's not a deadline. It's a faux deadline. The goth gang over in the other corner saying, you know what? We're not against the recon. Just do the bipartisan right now and get it done. Okay, so that was Mornings LA. What happened minutes ago? Oh my goodness! What happened minutes ago was there was literally a bloodbath with the progressives saying, you know what? We're doing recon. We're doing recon. And you are not going to give us anything else because guess what? We are absolutely blowing it up. We are killing anything else you give us. It's like the heavens have opened. The stimulus heavens have opened up for us. The progressives minutes ago said, you know what? I see that the president had meetings with the two Democratic senators again today. I see Nancy Pelosi is asking for more input on the recon. I see Nancy Pelosi saying, we can still add amendments to the recon, which is good for us because Ron Wyden wants to add unemployment benefits. The progressives want to add stimulus checks. But we hear you sort of doing a lot of still work on the recon. And it sounds like you keep on working on it, and yet you're rushing the roads and bridges out the door. It feels like I'm the stepchild you don't love. That's sort of like how they were saying it, the progressives. So you said, you know what? Tough luck. We're blowing up your roads and bridges. So if you really want to play games with us, this is the progressives to Nancy Pelosi. We are going to vote down your roads and bridges on Thursday. I love it. I love it. The progressives, and they've actually done a tally. They've actually counted how many people. Remember, the House Democrats have a margin of 3, approximately. So the House Democrats don't have a lot of people that they can, piss off and pass something. Well, there's 60 that they piss off now. There's 60 that piss off now. That are saying, you know what? We're not going to pass it. We're not going to pass the roads, the infrastructure, if you try to do that. Jalopal said minutes ago that, let me get you the quote for you, is that Jalopal and the others, the progressives met, and that they believe there's currently 60 of them that will block it. Jalopal says dozens of progressives, as many as 60, are ready to block a vote on the bipartisan on Thursday to protect your recon. I love these people. I just love them. They really are watching your back. Then some of them actually had very dramatic protective words in their quote minutes ago. One person who is a progressive. His name is Jim McGovern. Please include him on your Christmas card list. He's a Democrat from Massachusetts. He said, my father told me when I was growing up that there's a fine line between a good guy and a damn fool. I don't want to be rolled over. Oh my God, I love this guy. I think there's a lot of us that want to make sure we have assurances that in fact they're going to do the reconciliation budget bill and not play games with us. I love these people. Oh my goodness. And then Representative Chuy Garcia, Democrat of Illinois, says, I'm not a yes on that roads and bridges until we have assurances that you're passing my recon. I love these people. Oh boy, this is just minutes ago. This is just like seconds ago. This is after that food fight in the cafeteria last night of the kids, the congressional leaders Monday night. And this is after Nancy Pelosi confirms that Joseph Biden met with those two Democratic senators, illustrious two Democratic senators, to get them to agree to a price tag on the recon. And my sentiment of the situation is the following, that I think that the events of Saturday were so wonderfully awe-inspiring, successful, and that people on the House side, progressives now saying, AOC, Jalapal, Omar, the insertion of an amendment to it for us, that Ron Wyden on the House, on the Senate side, the insertion of extension of unemployment benefits, that everyone are like, we're done. We're practically done. Why isn't our stuff going for a vote? Why is this focus on the roads and bridges so overwhelming that it feels like you're not looking at me? Not that they're throwing you apart, but that they're not looking at you. And boy, did they come out firing mad. And that firing mad is the best news I have seen in a while from these progressives. 60 of them now saying that they will block the roads and bridges on Thursday. Representative Peter Welch, minutes ago, Democrat, Vermont, says, when it comes to the conclusion that keep things moving helps us, even though we risk some things, I want to know it will keep going. And Hakeem Jeffries, who's a House Democratic Caucus chair, said that the two things will pass together. Our substance is that the votes are there and the context. Now we're trying to figure out the path for both of the bills to get over the finish line. That's actually his words, Purple Power words. There you go. Wow. So let's go over all these incredible checks in there. Going back onto script and format of the show. On Saturday night, a $3.5 trillion reconciliation budget bill passing the House subcommittee. A draft of what would be a bill has clusters checks number 1 in there, cluster number 2's checks in there, and cluster number 3's checks in there. The first clusters are deliciousness. What's important to remember is that all these checks in that recon are not COVID related. They are non-COVID related. And they got in there hazard pay. They got in there checks for caring for the elderly, checks for children, checks for vehicles, cars, trucks, bikes, college students, and also $51,000 of MSC and hazard pay. Let's start with hazard pay. Hazard pay they got in there by modifying an old tax code called the Earned Income Tax Credit and getting what this channel advocated for. In 2020, this channel was the biggest place on the planet to advocate for the inclusion of hazard pay in the national landscape lifetime. They're doing it now. Modifying the Earned Income Tax Credit so more people qualify as essential workers every year, and broadening the amount of money. Then there'll be up to $4,000 a year if you care for an elderly person at home. Great news. On the other side, up to $4,000 a year to care for a young child. Then they got money in there for home repairs. If you live in a low-income community, there's money in there directly to you, grants, not money you have to pay back to repair the home. Then college students get 3 items of money, 1 to the university, 1 directly to them, and then a Pell's grant made tax-free. What about $51,000 of monthly stimulus checks? They got it in there as well. $51,000 of MSC, the CTC mean made a lifetime. If you're a parent of a child in a low-income household, you'll get up to $300 a month. How does this work? Every month that child is in a low-income household, you get up to $300 every month, every year for up to 18 years, which is $51,000 a child. And in a late vote on Saturday, they made a change to this before they did the whole vote on the 2,400-page reconciliation of that Saturday night to make it now eligible for a parent who's not a blood relative. Wow, incredible, great news. Then there's money in there for bikes, cars, trucks, and vehicles, all electric, all U.S. auto manufacturers. Up to 15% of the purchase price of a new electric bike. Up to $7,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle for business use. A little bit more for personal use. A little bit more for business use. And also money for an electric truck. Wow. There you go. That's the first cluster. I'll be getting to cluster number 2 and cluster number 3 in a second. But first, the exciting details is that additional $13 billion is going out to your cities and counties and states for rent, and it's coming from Treasury. In fact, it already went out. Treasury was very smart to send this money out last week because the debt ceiling limit is looming on Friday. And Treasury made that announcement that the Treasury is happy to provide the additional state and local governments this extra sums of money for Americans in time of rental assistance. I'll be going over more about this later in this video. Let's cut back to cluster number 2 checks. They got them in there as well. Cluster number 2 checks start with the big money for paid family leave and paid medical leave. Paid family leave, you have to stay at home because your wife's pregnant. Paid medical leave, you have to stay home because your son broke his leg. How much? Under third stimulus, it was up to $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year. Split it in half. Then it would be $800 a week if you make over $35,000 a year. Split it in half. Let's say you make $15,000 a year annual salary, $400 a week. Deliciousness. There's 12 other sets of checks in this second cluster, and they are incredible. Those checks include checks for checks for home care, and then checks for children. These are the second of 3 clusters of checks: child care programs, household tax credits, then weatherizing your home checks. Wow, the second check's in there for the house. If you need to weatherize your home, they're going to give you a check for that as well. Hurricane Alley, tornado zone, fire zone, things like that. Then free pre-kindergarten and free community college. Pre-kindergarten, very fascinating, because even on Monday afternoon, there was reports out that said they need to modify this language even more because it doesn't work the way it is. And then free community college definitely needed, especially because there's a class very popular across the country called What the World's LALATE Saying? He just talks funny 101. It's because people in Los Angeles have a foreign language. You can take that foreign language. Kale salad. Talk like you're from Los Angeles. More about that later. But that is cluster number 2. In a second, we'll be cutting to cluster number 3. So we now see what's going on with the House and the Senate, but more specifically, the House. I'll be cutting back to this in the third part of this video as the nuance of the whole battle over the House voting, what day they're voting, is really heating up. And the beneficiaries of it at noontime is you, because the House Democratic progressives have literally done what I had been reporting back in July. Remember that expression that they were protecting the recon like a fort? That the president told them protected like a fort because it's all progressive checks for you? Oh boy, they're not only protecting like a fort, they're bringing out the bows and arrows. I got more about those bows and arrows coming up in the second half of this recording. Boy, this is why I told you it was great news, and I've never seen people firing mad when they thought people were going to play games with them. They really just thought that people were trying to play games with them. And they have enough people to fire back. There's so many progressives in the House, 60 of them, that they will have their way and have their cake as well and get you what you want. Let's cut to the third cluster checks. Free school meals for all checks. Cheaper prescription medication checks. Farmers checks. Checks for free internet. And then checks for clean energy. Checks for seniors, workers, and also dental, vision, and hearing. The third cluster of checks has additional $107 billion is coming to you. How do I find that out? In World Exclusive, I identified that the Senate parliamentarian is removing one provision. She made that announcement 2 weeks ago. A provision for judiciary. I went back in my old notes and I figured out how much that was for. It's $107 billion. So guess where it's going to get reallocated? To you. Meantime, two of the clusters of checks in this third cluster, the president particularly likes, and I like, because they're automatic savings to you. For example, the first one, cheaper prescription medications. Let's say you go to a pharmacy right today and pay for a prescription with two $20 bills. This becomes law thereafter. Then when you go to refill the prescription, you may only have to take one $20 bill out of your wallet. Then the exciting details is that they're going to give free internet. Free internet to every city, county, and state, red, blue, rich or poor across the country. All you have to do is say, what's the username and password? The username is Blaine66, and the password is Scarf101. In the second half of this video, we go over the big dramatics that are still unfolding and why the breaking news that I delivered at the top of the recording that happened minutes ago with the progressives literally firing mad to protect your recon is the best news we have heard since Saturday. As the recon passes a $3.5 trillion in a subcommittee on Saturday, incredible, great news. But when the news started to look a little murky after that food fight in the cafeteria last night, the progressives came out today armed and ready. I have more about what they are ready to do for you and a little bit about my impression now that I see where they're going, because I wasn't quite sure when they were going to step up. Now they are. We'll be going over the incredible statements that AOC, Jayapal, Pelosi, and the senators, Coons, Casey, Warren, Sanders have now said to viewers of this channel, no less than 1,000 of them, and what they've said in the last few days. I'll explain to you the notion of amendments and changes and how things get added. That's coming up in the second half of this video, and if we have time, we'll be going over fifth stimulus and also the debt ceiling limit. A lot of things happening. But first, here's a little bit about the community page. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds with a major noontime recording, and I'll be back with you just shortly. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.lalate.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now on Noontime LA with incredible details about the $3.5 trillion reconciliation budget draft of a bill passed on a Saturday night. We'll go over all the incredible details and now what the House Democrats, progressives specifically, are doing. What the president did minutes ago, who he met with, and why did that make progressives fire back and say, protect my recon. I'll go over all the incredible great news in the second half of this video. We'll be cutting over to the debt ceiling limit and how it impacts you. We'll be cutting over to third stimulus. And we'll be going over those monthly stimulus IRS checks that Democratic representatives represent. They are including in that recon. It's a big noontime, and boy, we are just getting started. So with that, subscribe. At 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this family. No one was recording the breaking details on Saturday. No one's recording the breaking details minutes ago. This is the accuracy. This is the in-depth reporting. This is where you need to see all the details. I told you the situation's very fluid, and it is far from over by that minute or the day. It's changing literally by the hour. So subscribe. A 400,000 subscribers YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Like the video and consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. Boy, it would normally be right now in this video that I would be going to third stimulus, but because of the running time, I want to go right into fourth stimulus to go over the nuances of what's happening and see if I have time for my impressions at the end. And then if we do have time to go back to third stimulus, I will. Well, here's what you need to know, is that in the last few days, since Friday all the way up to the present, AOC, Omar, Jayapal, and Pelosi's office have told viewers of this channel they're putting in a monthly stimulus check provision from IRS. $2,000 a month after the first month, $1,000. $1,000 a month after the first month of $2,000, running for 6 months. This is after nearly 1,000 viewers have been told the same thing by nearly a half of Democratic senators. The interesting thing is that these Democrats on both the House and Senate side have used future tense when referring to the situation with viewers. This is consistent with what Pelosi and the president have said since Saturday, that while on Saturday they passed a $3.5 trillion reconciliation budget bill draft, it's not the final thing. The senators would vote last during the vote-a-rama, as I've been exclusively reporting, and they would make amendments. Those amendments could be the inclusion of a stimulus check, as so says Sanders' office to the viewers of this channel. On the House side, those changes would be changes to the draft of what was passed on Saturday. Remember, it's a draft that was passed on Saturday, not an actual bill. And in fact, that's consistent with what even Ron Wyden did today. Ron Wyden overnight said, you know what? I'm going to propose a change to whatever the House gives me because I want to insert unemployment benefits being extended. Yes. So everyone is putting extra things in there. That's why your work has worked. Let's go over how we got to this point. 8 weeks ago, WR, a longtime viewer of this channel, picked up the phone and advocated for us after I said, call your Democratic senators, advocate for the inclusion of stimulus check. And WR did. He called Senator Chris Coons, Democrat, Delaware, and advocated for the inclusion of a monthly stimulus check. And Senator Chris Coons' office said yes, he's including a monthly stimulus check. 3 weeks ago, it was important to understand the landscape of where things were. And I delivered several exclusives. One, that I believe that the House would write up the legislation. Of course they were. And that the House would vote first. Of course they are. And that the person that's important in the equation on the Senate side is Bernie Sanders. And he is. He's the budget chairman for the Senate side. We have a House Budget Committee that wrote this recon draft. And then we have the Senate budget chairman. And Bernie Sanders 3 weeks ago told viewers a very fascinating statement. He said, unlike other budget chairmen, I like to get out amongst the people when I'm writing a budget bill. I said, that's signal for you to call and advocate. I said, pick up the phone and advocate to Senator Sanders. The face of advocacy for stimulus, what does it look like? What does advocacy mean? It means calling up and saying, I need it because. This is why I need it because what's happening with my family, what's happening in my town, my community, my church. And we have such proud viewers that have done such a great job. And the message got out very clear by the end of last week. As Margaret says, honestly, the woman on the phone and I started crying when I explained everything I've been through. Another viewer called and advocated about how she had lost her husband, have had 10 surgeries since his passing. And I've been trying to raise 2 teenage daughters with the hardships, and I'm just having SSDI. It's not enough. That's what Brother Joshua did. He picked up the phone and advocated to Bernie Sanders' office 3 weeks ago, saying I need it for my family, my church, my community. Brother Joshua is a 2020 volunteer to the community page, help people get thousands of view monies from this channel. And he advocated. And Sanders' office saying, yes, I'm going to be including a monthly stimulus provision, $1,000 or $1,400, 3 to 6 months for viewers, but needs to hear that you have his support. Well, we did. And Donnie started the ball running. And in fact, as we go into this afternoon, Sanders is still vowing to put that amendment in there. He tells viewers of this channel as well. So when we turn to Donnie, what did Donnie do? He picked up the phone and called Sanders' office and advocated. And this is what Donnie wrote. You're going to see a series of screen grabs from people posted in the comments on this channel or in private message on social media. I called Bernie Sanders, writes Donnie, and I spoke to his secretary. And the secretary said they are doing a forced stimulus check, and this is what I need, my city needs, and I need it to progress. I need it for my water. I told her that. And she said, okay, they're doing a forced stimulus check. Hurricane Tina wrote, I called Bernie Sanders' office, and I asked if they're doing a forced stimulus check. And they said, yes, they're putting in another forced stimulus check. Carolyn Smith wrote, I called Bernie Sanders' office and I talked to Secretary and told her we need to help out here as we're losing our homes and what they got. And she said, yes, she agrees. And Bernie's also putting a stimmy check in there. Yaya picking up the phone and calling Ron Wyden's office. Yaya wrote, spoke to another Wyden office staffer who said, yes, they want to put SS2 in there as promised. By that point, we had Senate Democrats left and right all vowing to include it in there, but Will showed us pick up the phone and call 3 offices, and he did. Will writes, I called Bernie, Warren, and Schumer's offices, and all 3 of them secretaries confirmed the stimulus check. Elizabeth Warren asked me what kind of check I would like. He said he likes the American petition. And then they said that Senator Warren will be including $1,400 to $2,000, 6 to 12 months. Lorica, 2 weeks ago, writing, I spoke on the phone with Senator Bob Casey's office. He's pushing for a lot of money. I talked to her. She said, yes, they're in negotiations now for the amount of the stimulus check. By that point, we had senators left and right telling nearly 1,000 viewers of this channel, Coons, Sanders, Warren, Schumer, Casey, Wyden, that they're inserting a provision for a monthly stimulus check in there. But we had to push on the House side as well. And I told viewers to call up the phone and call AOC, Jayalapal, Omar, and Pelosi. And you did. Mark, $51,000 Mark, calling up Pelosi's office a Monday ago. And Pelosi's office saying the following. This is what Mark wrote. Her staff told me, Pelosi's staff told me, that there would be a fourth check in the amount of $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter, for 6 to 12 months, and that they're almost done negotiating it. Loreka getting the same confirmation as well. The comments continue to come in as viewers continue to post much the same thing by the moment and day. In the last 24 hours, the comments have come in as well from other viewers. Lynn Glenn saying she got Omar's office on the phone. She got Jayalapal's office on the phone. We have Omar, Jayalapal, Pelosi, and Sanders' office all since Friday, confirming they will be including that monthly stimulus check. Now, the language of the tense of the verb is very fascinating. It's usually future tense. And that is good news for us because that's consistent with what Pelosi and the president has said. That when you look at the recon, it is not a bill that's closed up. I lost my prop. It's here somewhere. But it's not a bill that's closed up. It's not a book that is sealed closed. They're still putting things in there. That's good news for you as well. AOC, Jayalapal, Omar, Pelosi, the progressives on one side, and then on the other side, the progressives of the Senate, like Sanders saying, I'm putting it in there. House members can put it in there by modifying the $3.5 trillion past recon bill draft from Saturday. And Senate Democrats can do exactly what I've been telling you over the last 3 months. When they get the bill finally in the Senate after everyone in the House votes, then the senators would have a 2-day votorama, which is a 2-day of voting amendments where they introduce amendments, and that's when they can introduce it. So good news across the board there. Let's go over really the nuance and my impression of what happened in this very, very heated Tuesday midday meeting. Remember, on this channel today, on Mornings LALATE, I detailed the big meeting last night on Monday night, the big meeting on Tuesday midday. The Tuesday one was a little bit different. And why was it different? Let me tell you what they are basically saying. And who is they? Democratic House progressives and sort of non-moderates. And there's a lot of them, 60 of them. They are basically saying, listen, we have worked on this recon. We have been promised things about this recon. And we like the bipartisan. And the bipartisan Democrats in the House like the recon as well. But don't try to play games with the people who like the recon. Because if we smell you trying to play games with us, we are really going to play games back with you. And I don't think I've seen that language amongst House and House Democrats since it started. This is literally House versus House Democrats. This is not the senators. This is House versus House. And what are they basically saying? They're basically saying, hey, we're just as important as the roads and bridges. And don't start to sort of put us on the back burner. Don't sort of put us out the door and down the street. You keep us on equal footing because you're starting to send an impression to us, this is how they're saying it, that maybe you're just not looking at us in the same regard. That's why Hakeem Jeffries, head of the Democratic caucus from the House, said, no, we got you. Senator Hoyer saying, no, we got you. And Nancy Pelosi saying, no, we got you. But they want to make it very clear. So how are those progressives making it very clear? They're doing basically, exactly, precisely, what I had predicted they would do 2 days ago. Remember what I said on Sunday? I said on Sunday, if I was them, And what I think they're going to do, as a progressive in the House, I would call the vote on the roads and bridges on Thursday and say, fine, I promise to call the vote, get ready, and we vote it all down. And then we zip your mouth closed. Because, all you want to do is talk about this Thursday vote, call the vote, and we'll vote you down. Because you need to treat people on equal regard. And I think that is that's really basically the flavor of what they're saying. Now, there is a level of percolating steam that's coming from these Tuesday midday comments by these progressives that sort of says, you know what? We don't trust anyone, and we only trust each other, and we're going to make sure that our recon passes. And we don't know really what the president's doing with those two senator Democrats. We don't really know what the president is trying to do with timeline with the recon. But we're going to protect that recon like you have never seen anything protected. Lastly, as I detail on Mornings LA today, Jalapal, who always has your back, says, this talk about there's a deadline for Thursday for the roads and bridges, they say that's hogwash. They say it is a made-up deadline, that no one buys it. Lastly, something very important for you to understand is that the House Democrats, like the Goth gang, that are not part of the progressives, they aren't against your recon. They are not against your recon. They're not voting your recon down. They are just sort of trying to speed up the roads and bridges to a level that people are saying, slow it down. Why are you speeding that up? You're sort of like cutting in line in front of me at the bar for a drink. It's like, don't try that. Don't try that. Really, really fascinating. All right, let's go over to the debt ceiling limit, and let's go over to fifth stimulus, and then I'll go over my impressions as well. First, debt ceiling limit. This was part of the talk last night during that Monday night session. They also talked about the debt ceiling limit. The debt ceiling limit. What happened with this was the House passed a debt ceiling limit bill last week. It should not have been written the way it was written. It was the progressives it was the Democrats asking for too much. On that same time, the Senate Republicans passed something, wrote something amongst themselves that they really like. It was too limiting. And now the debt ceiling limit is looming for Friday. If it lapses, it means nothing for you and your money. Number one, if you receive Social Security checks, if you receive benefits checks like SSI and SSDI, you're an active member of the military, you get checks every week from the federal government, or you work for a federal agency or the federal courthouse or for federal business or anything, your checks are coming on time. They're coming on time next week. They're coming on time a week after that. Democrats, Republicans, everyone sort of thinks this is sort of silly because they always miss this deadline for a few days. It's no biggie whatsoever for you. If this goes into December, then it's a biggie. It's not at the moment that situation. Number two, the funding of your reconciliation budget bill has nothing to do with the debt ceiling limit. The debt ceiling limit is to pay for existing laws, everything from 2020, 2021, not for something that's not a law yet. Number three, does it muddy the whole situation about doing things at the same time when you're doing roads and bridges, debt ceiling limit, and recon all between now and Friday? No. And one of the things that's new I want to show to you at noontime right now is that there's a fascinating quote out from Janet Yellen, your Treasury Secretary, which is like, you know what? The deadline is Friday, but because you have waited so long, the federal government's already incurring extra expenses. It's sort of like you're about to go miss a deadline. I have to spend money because I'm about to miss a deadline. So we're already suffering from the situation on a Tuesday. Does this whole work process together help us? It does. The more that people are brought together, the more they get things done together. And that is why you literally have, for the first time I can remember, House Democrats having meetings on a Saturday night and voting, having a meeting on a Monday night, having a meeting on a Tuesday midday, which is like 6 hours later. I mean, it's great for news sites. It's great for this channel. I mean, the news cycle is changing every 4 minutes because they got so much to do, and it's such a fluid situation. It's really fluid. Lastly, where should your focus be for advocacy? Your focus for advocacy should not change. The people who really have your back are the House progressives, AOC, Jalapal, Omar, and to some extent Pelosi. Then Bernie Sanders still has your back. Confirming to viewers of this channel, he still has your back. The nearly 1,000 viewers have been told the same thing from those Democrats. Remember, advocacy involves you saying why you need it. I want you to understand that, and I don't think I've said this yet today, is that if you're in an office for a senator, a Democrat, and you got to deal with the debt ceiling limit, you got to deal with the recon, you got to deal with the bipartisan, you got to deal with everything that belongs to the recon, that belongs in there. They're doing a lot the next 5 days. So do not be heavy-handed about anything. Be polite, respectful, kind, professional, because they are doing a lot. As Ron Wyden overnight said, he's going to try and insert an extension of unemployment benefits. He has 3 or 4 Democrats on his Senate group that they're trying to put it in there. And he even said, everyone is trying to get something in somewhere, which is good, because that is why Pelosi and the president said not calling the vote yet on the recon, because people still want to add things in there. All good for you. I have more about these details coming up later today. Understand that Afternoons LA was taped earlier today, the 3 o'clock show. I'll have more about what happened with this noontime event on Evenings LA tonight at 5 o'clock. It's a very evolving situation, and it's a very fast-turning event. I want you to understand that, one, it is not a bill and just a bill, and that's it, close the book, nothing. Not at all the case. Number two, I want you to know that for the first time in as long as I can remember, you have all these vigorous Democratic House members, no less than 60 of them, including Jalapal, AOC, and Omar, saying, you know what? We're going to get what we want, and you are not going to play games with us. And I don't know if you're playing games with us, but I'm going to protect what I got, my stuff. I love that. They absolutely have your back. You make sure you have your back. Advocate includes stuff across the board. I'm back next with you with Afternoons LA at 1 o'clock. Then we have a new Afternoons LA show at 3 o'clock. Then a brand new Evenings LA tonight at 5 o'clock. Make sure you watch all these videos. Do not disappear for, a day and a half, because it'll be hard to catch up. And while everyone always says he repeats himself, sometimes I have to repeat myself, but sometimes I can't, because if there's a food fight in the cafeteria on a Monday night, by Wednesday, I might be covering the next food fight. And you'll be saying, what happened? Well, it was the cannelloni. And with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. Fastest growing channel for a reason. I go over all the incredible details and all the incredible backdoor events. You don't want to miss anything that's happening by the minute or the hour. And the best community there is. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. Stay informed, stay focused. Have a beautiful afternoon. I'll see you next on Afternoons LA at 1 o'clock. This video will take you there.